Now, when you hear the word cartoon, I'm sure you may think of animation, like Scooby-Doo or SpongeBob SquarePants. Maybe when you think of cartoon, you may think of anime. May come to mind because anime is a cartoon. It's a Japanese cartoons, like Pretty Cure or Saint Seiya. But we're not talking about those cartoons. We're talking about these cartoons. Cartoons of the 1860s, Civil War era. And now you're looking at me, Silva-chan. How are the cartoons in the 1800s? Okay, maybe that's not what you're thinking, but yeah, there were cartoons back in there, but they didn't move. And they were in newspapers. But let's get on with the history of the Civil War political cartoons. Now, I did not know they were political cartoons, but yeah, they did exist. They are cartoons also known as editorial cartoons. They are graphics with public figures expressing the artist's opinion. An artist who writes and draws such images is known as an editorial cartoonist. They typically combine artistic skills, hyperbole, and satire in order to question authority and draw attention to corruption, political violence, and other social ills. They were developed in England in part of the 18th century. The political cartoon was pioneered by James Gilway, although his and others in the flourishing English industry were sold as individual prints in print shops. And founded in 1841, the British periodical Punch appeared the term cartoon to refer to its political cartoons, which led to the term's widespread use. From 1861 to 1865, newspapers played an enormous role during the Civil War. For an age without radio, TV, phones, you get to the point. These were the means of communications back in the day. Most papers took a lot of strong political positions to editing newspapers to pursue readers to accept their points of view. To do so, they made cartoons to drive home these ideas. For President Abraham Lincoln, he took a lot of note to the influence about this with a flattering comment about pro-union cartoonists of the period. Thomas Nast has been our best recruiting sergeant. Thomas Nast, by the way, was a German-born American caricaturist and editorial cartoonist who often is considered to be the father of American cartoon. When the Civil War started, cartoons were detailed to a very and with satirical sketches with very wordy cartoons. And Nast was responsible for developing a new type of cartoon, one that was basically a caricature consisting of line drawing in which the subjects have depicted by exaggerating certain notable figures and features. This new form used a few captions and focused instead on one single event that happened on or the issue. This making a point with just a few simple labels incorporated into the drawings. And a cartoonist by the name of Feng Baowu followed along Lincoln's re-election in 1864, which shows a smiling Lincoln being carried across a body of water on top of the shoulders of the large smiling figure whose cap proclaims his majority, seen in the background. The figure of the man is being pushed down into the water and is labeled Little M. This is for Lincoln's opponent, George McClellan. And for cartoons on the Confederate side of political cartoons, One of the best-known Confederate cartoonists was named Honorable John Volk, who made acid-like attacks on Lincoln that helped to spur a lot of Southern efforts. The South had also published copies of the anti-Union cartoons from English journals as Punch. One such cartoon made by John Tenniel portrays Lincoln as a scared raccoon being caught and trapped by John Bull, the symbol of England. At the height of the war, the cartoons on both sides of the war became even more savage in its content, and the cartoonists spent little time building their own side, preferring to instead tear down by attacking their weakest and ridiculing it. For example, when the South learned about Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, Volk expressed the Southern view of the document in just one single drawing. This shows Lincoln at work on the proclamation, having one foot crushing the U.S. Constitution. Meanwhile, with the Northern cartoonists marked the idea of the voluntary enlistment in the South by showing a farmer entering and recruiting office at bayonet point. And so that is a political cartoon of the Civil War. This is my first video on reading a Story of America card. I did edit it a little bit too, but I hope you liked it and got a little bit of American history out of it. I'm gonna make more on this, so I hope you enjoy. Tell me in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye!